because less than 3% of you people read books. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. You're beginning to believe the illusions. This is mass madness, you maniac. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.
What's up? Welcome to IdiotBox Television. We are on episode 123. We are going to be talking about living a positive life in a negative world. My name is Whippy.
Troy Everett. DJ Drumtastic. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining in. Make sure you like, share, all the other things that you need to do when you're watching the podcast. If you don't know, now you know.
Like, share,
also, like, share. Everybody goes through the little spew. Also, we are streaming on, if you can see at the top, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and X. So you can catch us on all those platforms. We also set up our Cash App. So if you'd like to donate to the cause, so we keep this positive thing going, go ahead and Cash App.
If you like to, you should. Like Debo would say.
We're going to Debo everybody.
Look, like Debo would say, with my money.
No, we're going to say it politely. So the Cash App tag is BeCreative44. $BeCreative44. So go ahead and, $2, $5, whatever y'all can afford. Help us help other people. That's what we're going to use that for.
We got Shay in the house.
Hey, Shay. Thanks for joining in, Shay. Really appreciate you guys. Regional Argument Network. Being positive is a good, but optimism is the slowest path to destruction. Hopium. I guess it's hopium. Oh, you got to be positive. We appreciate you coming in. Recreational Argument Network Television. We'll have to check your channel out. We'll definitely do that. So stay in touch. Also, Justice for Jalen. For those of you who haven't seen the show, go back and rewatch the show. We are going to be updating you on that situation very, very soon.
Very, very soon.
We appreciate the shout out. Now, for you're probably new to the channel. We come on every Thursday. This is an open forum. So if you want to come on or have something to say, in about 15 or 20 minutes, we'll go into the main topic, which is living a positive life in a negative world. You can come on and, join us. We'd love to have you on.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on. But right now, we're going to do what we usually do. And that is... Oh, I didn't have it. There we go.
Yep, and
Okay, quickly, and then we'll get back to Sharif. But the blacklist, what we want to talk about the blacklist. What the blacklist is, it's a Facebook group that we put together for entrepreneurs and small business owners. If you go in there, it's a networking platform where you can show off your products and services. Every month, we try to do a review of those people that are on there. So we'll call you up. Hey, tell us about your products and services. We'll have you on the show, show it off, whatever you may do. But if you wanted to get in touch with a lot of like-minded people when it comes to entrepreneurship and business, click the blacklist. Go ahead, Sharif. Tell them about the green room.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Was let everyone know that make sure you come in the green room with the correct camera, and also have the lights on so I can read your lips. And you guys are welcome, just like with Troy said. You guys can come on and talk with us for 30 minutes or more.
Right, and it's very important that you have your camera on and your face very well lit, because Sharif is deaf and he reads your lips. He doesn't have to hear you. All you have to do is make sure you articulate correctly, and he does very well at reading lips.
Yep.
So,
And I also want to share this with you. It was a time that I had a hard time reading someone's lips, and this person said, "Okay, I'll make it easier for you." He had a thick mustache, and he lifted mustache up so I can read his lips, and that I thought that was real funny. But I laughed, and I couldn't even finish the conversation with him.
that's great. Also, make sure that merchandise. We also have merchandise. Make sure you go get your merch. Go to get your IdiotBox merch. Go to TroyEverett.net. Click shop, and we thank you for your support. Cherie just bought a hoodie, a pink hoodie. We really appreciate your support.
Yes, we do.
Also, Miss Malone. So Baba Yaga says, "Wait, what? Sharif is deaf? Yeah, you knew that. Funny guy." Miss Malloy, if she's on, Baba Yaga's wife, the BOGO still. If you buy something, whatever you buy, we'll double it. We'll BOGO your merchandise. But again, thank you everybody for your support.
Yes, thank you for your support.
Got a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. Before we get to our main topic,
what we got?
We got weather. Sharif,
what's going on with the weather?
Yeah, the weather. I tell you what, the weather over here is real deep. I think about maybe 3 or 4 inches. But some areas was more and some areas was less. It all depends on where the wind was blowing. But we have like 19%. That's how cold, 19 degrees. We were 19 degrees. But next week is gonna be 37 degrees. So we're gonna have to rock out, because that's gonna turn into a black ice. So hopefully that we can just stay home and still get paid from the job. But me personally, I probably have to go to work anyway, because I have to use the vacation day.
See, that's what they say. You got to stay positive. It's a snow day. People are driving into trees, sliding down hills in Michigan. That's where Sharif is from, in Michigan. And his job doesn't have the moral compass to give him a day off. He has to use his own private time in order to take off.
Right. And I also want to say that in downtown there's a lot of snow going over there too. And there was the guy that was on the street, like going sledding in Memphis on the highway.
Yeah, Memphis, they don't normally get snow down. I know they get a little bit of snow, but I think they got a real good dusting down there in Texas.
They got a good dusting. They did. Yeah, they got a real good dusting down there. Down in Georgia, we got some cold days. A few days down to about 14, 13 was the lows last night. But otherwise, it's all right. Oh, we got somebody who came on. It's all right. It's not 30s, 40s, stuff like that, But Troy, what about you out there in Florida?
It's 60 down here today, man. It's a little nippy. It's a little nippy in Florida. Yeah, man. If it gets below 30 to 40, that's like we don't know how to handle ourselves. Well, it got
don't let whoever that is in.
Sure thing. Welcome, Rant TV. Is your camera working?
Yo. How y'all doing?
We're doing well. Thanks for coming on. Sounds like you are smoking on the Chiba there.
Yo, you already know, dog.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel?
To be honest, I used to do YouTube and I was really into like, biblical things.
Okay, well,
I used to do a lot of biblical talks and stuff, and now I just kind of do open talks about the truth.
okay, yeah. Yeah, that's we get on some of that biblical stuff too. We might not see eye to eye on that, but that's a whole nother subject in its hand. So what made you stop?
Excuse me, man.
You couldn't smoke. You couldn't smoke weed in church.
Yeah. No, I was never really big on the church.
Oh, okay.
I started out like Roman Catholic originally when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And, eventually after learning that was like not the right way, in my opinion.
You didn't get touched as a kid, did you?
No. I just knew that it wasn't like, it didn't seem godly to me, the whole idea of the whole thing.
Oh no, it's drummer love. It's far from what you're supposed to do.
Yes,
I mean, at least according to scripture.
I was never really like getting back into any specific religion. After that specific religion, I've found that all religions that are organized by men are, essentially control systems that are perpetuated generationally.
Mm-hmm. That's agreeable.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's what your channel is about most of the time now. When you talk about the open.
I usually have discussions with people on like, just what's going on in the world. I try to keep it relevant to important things.
Mm-hmm.
Things that matter. There's a lot of channels out there that do, whatever they do, that's their own shtick, right?
Right.
But we try to keep it on like, relevant things. Like where is the world headed? Like, what do we, what's the fate of humanity going to be like? We try not to keep it in the fear porn realm, but at the same time, because, we do try to keep it positive. But you also got to be realistic with like the reality. And unfortunately, like, you're saying the world is a negative world, right?
Right.
So we can't hide that negativity in lieu of positivity either. That's a problem that a lot of people fall into when trying to be positive is they fall into hopium, where it puts you to sleep. It's a mental sedative. It's like, it's like if, in the reality, the way that we live it in society as humanity, we are in captivity, but we don't realize it. Most of us,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mean captivity through systematic? Yeah, are you talking systematic prison, or are you talking mental captivity?
It's a multifaceted system that goes to levels that would take quite a while to even begin to break down. It's a psychological control system. It's a financial, a physical control system. There's, occult control systems. I mean, we can't even really get into a lot of these things because we got to keep in mind the channel, right?
Right. So yeah, you can get flagged for some of the things you say, but
yeah,
again,
I'm real careful.
And what we do here on our network is we try to keep wide open. We don't care who comes on, who speaks, and that's kind of what drummer. We change the subject often, right?
Yeah, we change the subject to all different kind of stuff.
Yeah,
from sports to what's happening in this state, what's happening in that state, government stuff, voting, basically any topic you can think of.
You guys ever heard of like beer and circuses?
Beer and circuses.
Yeah, it was an old Roman tactic where like, the hierarchy realized that if they give the people enough beer, right, and circuses, the circuses were essentially like gladiator death matches, and then all the other things like with, tigers eating people or whatever they were doing in the day. And if they gave people enough, essentially entertainment and, bread, it was bread and circuses. Now it's beer and NFL. My bad. That was I was a little high on that one.
But yeah, it's
bread and circuses.
It's the same kind of system when you talk about the Romans. the Roman system. Here, everybody is inundated by. We talked about that not too long ago. We talked about why are we so obsessed with sports?
It's the same Roman system.
And then,
What did Art say?
What's Art got to say? Okay, he says, I would say the world has fallen. Captivity to what? Possibly captive to sin. I think his thoughts are sharpened more by religion than he lets on.
So
what do you have to say about that?
When I say that I don't have a religion, I believe that even if we look at the etymology of the word religion, right, it's the rebinding. Okay, it means to rebind generationally through control. That's what it's always done. Now, what I do believe in, however, and a lot of people would consider me a Christian, maybe, right? But I don't necessarily like that connotation because then it associates me with all other Christians. And I don't believe anything really in the line with most Christians. So, I mean, I guess you could consider me a human being that follows the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Okay. Well, most Christians don't follow what the Christian book
That's
says.
what I'm saying.
Anyway, so.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So I want to separate myself from that. And I don't consider it a religion because there is no organized truth. There is only one truth, and it comes from God. I can't teach people that. I could just show them where it might be.
Right.
They got to look and see if it's true themselves. You know what I mean? With discernment.
Yes. Study to show yourself approved, right?
Facts.
So, is there any way that you could, because Sharif can't hear what you're saying, and we don't have capabilities right now for him to see the text. Is your camera working?
My camera?
Yeah, because Sharif is deaf. He can't follow the conversation without seeing your lips.
I'll tell you what, I wasn't prepared to be on a camera, but I will set it up real quick and I'll get it going so that he can read what I'm saying. I didn't know that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we have people come on with the camera. But yeah, we'd love to hear more of what you got to say. So Art, did that answer your question? I know Art might have another question at hand after that piece. While he's fixing his camera there, I'm gonna just remove him real quick until he gets his camera fixed. I mean, he brings up a great point when it comes to religion and the what was it that he said? It was let me go back and scroll. Hope. What did he call it? Hopium.
Hopium.
Yeah, hopium. Kind of play on opium or cocaine. People hope for things. Yeah. And my granddaughter's in the background screaming. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah. Now at first I didn't, but now that you said it, I did. I don't know where it was. I didn't know where it was coming from.
Turn my mic down a little bit.
But anyway, did we even do roll call? Who is even out there? I mean,
we just skipped over roll call, didn't we?
We see people that are on, so don't think we don't. So we don't know exactly who is on, but we see how many people.
Yeah.
So who's out there? Where you at? What's your weather like?
Yeah. So we're going to holler out Art, Baba Yaga. Who else have we got on? Sheena. Thank you, Sheena, for tuning in.
Yeah, Sheena, thank you for tuning in.
Recreational Argument Network. I like that. I like that. Recreational.
Yes.
And Shay, thanks for coming on, Shay. What else we got out there? We really appreciate you guys coming on. And again, we're going to be talking about living positive in a negative world.
In a negative world. Well, we can't say, oh, dang, there he goes. Bring him on in, Troy.
Yo.
He's there.
Can you read me loud and clear?
Yes. Read you loud and
right.
clear.
All right. Video feed's good.
Yeah. He
All
can
right.
read your lips now.
Cool. But yeah, man, I wasn't prepared to stream or nothing, but I threw it up just because, you know what I'm saying? If you can't, you know what I mean, hear what I'm saying, I want to make sure you can hear what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it may be important, it may be relevant.
What did Art say, Troy? Did he say something else? Okay, there you go, Troy. Read that. I'm doing this other stuff. Can't hear you, Troy. What happened? You're muted. You're muted.
Art says, well, if you believe in Christ, believe that Christ died for your sins, then you're Christian. How you interact with others is supposed to show Christ's love in you.
Yeah, so the reality is, I mean, I could go back and forth with the chat, but you know, Christ never considered himself a Christian. This was something that was invented much later on, and it was actually a derogatory term that was being used to refer to the followers of Christ by the people who were persecuting them. And you know, it was later adapted into essentially what is now called Christianity, but I consider that the literal antichrist system because it comes from essentially Constantine, who was a pagan emperor of Rome. And during the Council of Nicaea, he was actually the one who oversaw, you know what I'm saying, the canonization of the Bible, right? Which was then used to create the religion that incorporated and assimilated all the pagan traditions in that area into one religion. And this was not about Jesus. This was about power and control. And that's what you need.
Well, Rome was losing to the Christians. The Christian movement moved so quickly through Rome. So they wanted a one world religion. Rome did. Like you said, the Council of Nicaea, they converted that. They changed the Sabbath from Saturday, which is, you know, from Saturday to Sunday. Sunday is the first day of the week. A lot of people don't know that. It's the first day of the week. It's not the last day of the week. So, yeah, all of that. And he did that. Constantine did to honor his mother, who was a pagan, which worshipped the sun god. So that's why he changed the day of worship to Sunday. And we still, to this day, as Christians, practice that changeover. And you know, there's some Christians will say, hey, it doesn't matter which day is the Sabbath, and you know, but there's literally laws and you know, God rested on the seventh day. You're supposed to rest on the seventh day. And again, that's 2,000 years ago. So there's a lot of people that believe that they're right in their teachings. And it's good to have an open dialogue and conversation about, you know, like yourself and other people who believe to get an understanding, especially like where you're coming from or where Art may be coming from. Would you agree?
I mean, I've done quite a bit of research on the topic. And, you know, I promise that, like, this isn't something that I come to with ignorance. I've personally moved through all different types of belief systems over the course of the years. You know, I've embodied the Old Testament. I never became a Jew, but I embodied the Old Testament as if it were the only truth and incorporated that into my life and experienced it and understood that that was not, you know, that was not godly. That was not by God. And so I fully understood what, like, Jesus was doing. And I look at this, you know, if we focus on just the Bible as a microcosm, we're missing the macrocosm of the entire reality of everything else that's happening at the same time. So when you start grabbing pieces of information from here and there, and then you realize that the Bible is not one book, it's 66 books. And those books are actually amalgamations of older texts that we find in other civilizations. We find that this book has been lost multiple times, started with oral tradition, has been altered multiple times, and translated and incorrectly translated on top of that. So when we're dealt with this, you know, and we start to break down the etymology of the words, and then, you know, like I've even sat there and learned Hebrew and broke down, you know, what do these words really even mean in this Bible? to go to even a deeper meaning and try to have an understanding of this. And I've been searching for the truth, and what I'm presenting to people, it's not just, it is my beliefs, but at the end of the day, it's the collection of an entire corpus of work that I've been, deeply searching. And I mean, I've read the books, like I've got, what I'm saying, like many of different Hebrew Bibles and Tanakhs, and what I'm saying, I've read the Quran, teachings of Buddha, what I mean, I've read every version of the English Bible you can imagine. You know what I'm saying?
Have you read the Book of the Dead?
The Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead? Yeah, I mean, I have it. I've read it. I've read many occult books. I mean, I've even read stuff like, I've got an original copy of The Secret Teachings of All Ages. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Manly P. Hall. I mean, I've read into everything, and what I've found is that most belief systems, well, actually all paths of belief systems lead directly to Luciferian Satanism, and the only path that does not is Jesus Christ's teachings.
That's as somebody who follows the teachings of Jesus Christ, now I'm on the same basis as you. I really don't like to call myself a Christian per se, because a lot of things have been done in the name of Christ that are not Christly.
I couldn't stand here as a man and say I honestly believe what Jesus said and did if I didn't actually do my research. And I really did try to embody all these different things. Like, I never actually practiced witchcraft, but I studied the works of Aleister Crowley, John Dee, alchemy. I've studied all the different Eleusinian mysteries. I've went back to the Hermetic text, the writings of Thoth, the philosophy of Socrates, Pythagoras, Plato. I've gone all the way back through all these different things to try to find understanding. And in every single system, what I found is the common thread is the occult mystery religions. And the source of these occult mystery religions is, in fact, Lucifer, who has taken the knowledge of God, the true source of light, and reflected it by being the light bearer, projecting a false reflection of a perfection. And that's what we're left with. We have systems that appear to work, right? But they don't work in the foundation, and the creator was Lucifer, so he controls all of these systems from the origin. So that's why these systems don't work. It is through the corruption of the knowledge, because we could both have the same truth, right? But how do you understand that truth? The deception is in the understanding of the truth, you see? That's how the devil operates.
Right. So with all the studying that you have done, let's kind of anchor it back to living positive life in a negative world. What has your studies taught you about, trying to be positive, especially when it's all
this negative going on,
all this bullshit that we see out there today?
So, y'all ever heard the expression, no good deed goes unpunished?
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's true, right? And what's crazy is that when you try to do good in this world, for some reason, this world wasn't designed for that. We live in a negative world, right? If you go out there and you try to lie to people, right, they'll probably believe you. But now if you go out there and try to tell people the truth, they're like, something ain't right. See? So when you go out there and do things, they may appear to be negative. Like, I go on panels of people, right, who are out here preaching Jesus and all this stuff, right? But then they don't stand on the principles, and I expose these people right there live on air, right? But they still won't accept the truth that I just presented them, and then rearrange their perspective on life. They stand in the lie. You know what I'm saying? And so that might appear to be negative, right? It's like, oh, this guy's attacking this guy, and this guy's just out here preaching about Jesus, right? But this guy's out here preaching about Jesus and lying and deceiving people. So should we consider someone attacking someone who's deceiving, right? Is that a positive or a negative action? Even though it may appear negative, what is the true outcome?
Right. That makes sense to me.
Right.
But again, when you go back to truth, that I'm it's hard to it's hard to say, truth, right? Because truth comes with a belief system, whereas uh, facts don't. Depending on your truth, attached to truth is belief. So if somebody believes in the Quran or somebody believes in the Bible, there's two separate truths there. You understand what I'm saying? And within the Christian sets, there's different truths there. I mean, you've got Jehovah Witnesses, you've got the Mormons, you've got Pentecostal, you've got Baptists. Even though they're reading the same book, their truths vary. Am I correct?
Well, I'm not saying that there's multiple versions of the truth. There is only one truth, and that is God. God is the truth. The word of God is the truth, right? And so there is only one, but like I said, there's different understandings of the truth. So reality is a triangle of perception, right? At the tip of the triangle, you have essentially the event that's taking place, right? And then on the left side of that triangle, you have one version of the truth of what someone sees when they're looking at that event. And then on the other side of that triangle, you have what another person would see when they're looking at that event, right? Now, these two people are looking at the same event, right? But through a narrow perspective because they can only see a very small portion of what's actually happening. Aside from that, those two perspectives are also filtered through emotions. So what they're left with is two polar opposites of the actual event that happened. They're both watching the truth happen. They both believe that it took place because of other reasons. Now,
Right.
they do not see all of the events that led up to that taking place. That's out of their range of perception. Even in the scientific sense, your visible light spectrum is very narrow. We human beings are only aware of a very small amount of what's actually happening in the reality around us, right?
Right.
And I mean, at the end of the day, science is based on facts, and the way we establish facts is with truth. So if truth holds no value, neither does science. And there is only one truth. It is what we can actually observe that is real. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, yeah. Y- I can you observe, like, right now we're all breathing, right? We're all breathing. We're all breathing oxygen. You can't see it, can't smell it,
Hmm.
but we know it's there, right? That's a truth. That's an absolute truth.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I agree what you say with about science. But that's not, again, and then the different perspectives. Again, that's just like the Gospels. Mark, Matthew, Mike, or Luke, Mark, John. They all had different perspectives on what they saw, even though some of them were at the same event. Um, so yes, it's hard to get to the truth, especially when there's so much information that's given to people on a day-to-day basis.
Well, let's read what Art said. Art said, clearly well educated, and that's awesome. Don't miss the simplicity of Christ. Nothing else other than his perfect sacrifice matters. With our conversation with how to live positive in a broken world, the answer is to try and live as Christ lived. Full faith is Christ's sacrifice is all that's needed.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that.
And why
Yeah,
not?
I mean, the thing is, to be honest, like I would be more than happy to have this conversation with Art Ryan, but it's kind of weird to have a text versus voice conversation.
That's very true.
yeah, that is true. And and again, see, here we go. We're talking about truth, right?
Right.
That's Art's truth. That's what Art's been taught. That's what Art's learned. That's his faith. That's what he's grounded in, right? You've done your studying. You've seen different, looked at different texts. You have a different truth as which you're grounded in. And if we had somebody of the Muslim faith, you know, they would have something totally different and what they're rooted and grounded in. But where do these things intersect to where do these truths intersect to where we're on common ground on certain things, right? So Art says it's through nothing else other than the perfect sacrifice that matters.
Right.
What did Jesus say? That's what I'm like. What did Jesus say? Jesus said when they asked him, "What are the greatest commandments in the Bible?" Jesus said, "There's two: love your father, love God with all your mind, body, soul, and heart, and love your neighbor as you do yourself." Right?
Right.
Those were the two greatest commandments.
I have a different understanding on the essentially. So there's a lot of people that believe in like the ritualistic sacrifice of Christ, right? And so I don't necessarily believe in that exactly. So I mean, I'm not saying that that didn't happen, right? And it didn't take place for a reason. I'm just stating that I don't necessarily believe the purpose of him dying was necessarily for that purpose, right?
Mhm.
I do believe that humanity had become completely under control by a control system. And I believe Jesus Christ came to basically bring the truth to humanity because essentially they were enslaved. And I think that he exposed something that was hidden and damaged the serpent, which I believe is the occult mystery religions that have been perpetrating through all religions and controlling all of them from behind the scenes since the beginning of the creation of the religious systems. And so what I believe is that Jesus came and was killed for bringing out the truth, for exposing the occult mysteries and breaking that code of silence. You know what I'm saying? That they operate under. You know what I'm
And I,
saying?
and I think I think you got a valid point there because there's certain things that Jesus would do. For example, um, whenever he healed somebody or he did a miracle, he would always tell the person, "Don't speak on this. Don't say anything. Go to where and do what?" He would tell them to go to the temple and pay your dues to the temple, right? So it was the state that put him to the cross. Um, it was the state that put him to the cross. So when he was telling these people not to tell, "Hey, I just healed you for free," right? If you had some kind of disease or something, there's you had to give a pigeon or you had to give some kind of blood sacrifice or some kind of money to the to the temple. You had to go to the temple and pay these so-called tithes. And I understand what you're saying again, but in the belief system, people are have been taught have been taught a whole separate way, and again, that's where the truth get kind of skewed.
I don't necessarily think it was about taxes. The Jews basically forced Rome to kill Jesus Christ. They didn't
Yeah,
want to.
because
Like,
he
if
was
you look,
upset. He was. If you look at the Sadducees and the Pharisees, one was a rich, one took in the money for one. That's what Saul of Tarsus was. He was wealthy, and how did they get
so
wealthy?
I don't subscribe to like necessarily Paul. If you look into it, Paul's actually one of the only authors of the text that we can attribute to an actual apostle, right? All the other texts were anonymous authors, and
Mhm.
they just ascribed names to them based on the followers who wrote the texts. So
So
Paul,
so
9 out of 13.
so you do it. So what I'm talking about is the difference between what. So you're talking about the Pauline gospel, right? That's Paul's gospel. That's not
So
Jesus' gospel. That's two different gospels.
yeah,
And a lot of people get
like
that
to
confused.
separate Paul because we can attribute the letters of Paul, 9 out of 13 confirmed. We can attribute to Paul because they're the writings of Paul, and
Mhm,
the other gospels were collected from different sources, and compiled by Erasmus into the Textus Receptus in the Greek.
mhm,
Revelation was included, and Erasmus didn't even want to include it in the Textus Receptus. but
Right.
the pressure from the public to put it in there, he put it in. Now, we have John the Revelator, right, which wrote Revelation, but that's not the apostle. This is a different one. This is John of Patmos, who is in prison, and the apostle John was never imprisoned on Patmos. Now, we also have
Agreed.
Paul. We have Paul of Tarsus, right? This is the apostle Paul, but the apostle Paul never walked with Jesus Christ.
No, he didn't.
And
He
he
says it. He said he even says it. If you read it, this is my gospel given to me. My gospel. This is Paul's gospel given to me by Jesus Christ.
Agreed.
That's the Pauline gospel. I was talking
Now,
about the previous gospels. But go ahead.
If we examine where Tarsus is and what stems from Tarsus, we find Mithraism. And in Mithraism, we have Mithra, okay, who was the intermediary between man and the gods, who sacrificed the bull to save humanity. Okay. And it was a blood sacrifice. You could look into this. It comes from Tarsus. And so we now have the blood sacrifice and the bread and the wine ritual coming from Paul. And essentially, right, we also see that this is the religion that's being practiced under all the Catholic churches. In the Undercroft, they all have temples of Mithra. So the real religion of Christianity that was created by Constantine was really secretly Mithraism. And in the occult teaching, as it is above, so it is below, they were operating on the surface as Christianity, you see. And these are the people, right, who formed the Jesuits. The Vatican Pope is the exterior shell operating on the surface. But if you notice, the Jesuit, right, general is who world leaders have to contact before they go to war, not the Pope. Right. And so I tell you, the black
that was one of the things that the Roman Catholic Church tried to do in the early 18th century was they wanted to kill all the Jesuits. They wanted to get rid of the Jesuits. And again, that's why I say that sometimes subscribing to certain things that you don't understand. If you want to study this, you have to study history. You have to study language. You have to study behaviors. You have to, like you said, Jesus spoke 3 different languages. If you're speaking with the apostles, what was he speaking? If he's speaking to the crowd, what was he speaking? If he's being, when he was speaking to Pontius Pilate, what was he speaking? So those are 3 different languages. Greece, if he was speaking to the Romans, he was speaking Roman. If he was speaking to the apostles, more than likely they all came from the same area. They're speaking Aramaic. If you're speaking to everybody within that general area, you're speaking Hebrew. So there's he's speaking 3 different languages. And again, it's a really deep study. If you really, really get into it, it's a very, very deep study to understand the scriptures. And I think people don't put in the time. A lot of people don't put in the time to study the scriptures as they should be. Now, that's just my opinion, right? That's just my opinion.
Facts, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Lance, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Lance, thanks for joining in. Lance all the way from California, Los Angeles.
City of Angels.
Yes. LA.
Yeah, so I mean, we could go on all night long about the differences in theology, how things trace back. I mean, the reason I asked you if you've read the Book of the Dead is because there's something called the 40 negative confessions of Ma'at, and within those are the 10 Commandments. And this predates Christianity and Moses by 2,000 years. So, and people fail to realize that Egypt was a monotheistic. They didn't believe in all the gods like everybody says. The horses. It was a monotheistic place.
So there's a jump that is found within this belief understanding. And this is where people get confused when they start to associate Jesus with potentially Horus. right? They're trying to say that because, this is what the Egyptians believed, that they had man incarnating in a body, the God incarnating in a body of a man, that this is what Christ was. And he was actually Horus because, what I mean, Isis and Osiris and, what I mean, had the, had the sun, right? That was Osiris resurrected, and she created like a artificial phallus because the body was chopped up into like whatever segments it was, and it was one missing like 13 segments, and it was a missing segment. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, yeah, I followed this line of understanding, but this is what's mainly perpetrated by people like Manly P. Hall and Madame Blavatsky, and these are all, Luciferian Satanists like Aleister Crowley. Like this is their understanding, and this is what leads people into like parts of like Masonry where they're turning, in the parts of like the Rosicrucian degrees, you know what I mean? They're starting to understand like, oh, it's about Christ consciousness and it's not about Jesus. And this is where they start turning Jesus Christ into Lucifer. And it's one of the, it's one of the easiest deceptions to fall into. But when you really follow these things out, they don't add up. And so, it goes back to the truth, like you were saying, right? And that's when I start to say, what is the truth, right? Why did Jesus come in the first place? It was to deliver the message of the truth. And so when we search for the truth, right, what we have is, he explains, I come in my Father's name. What this means is not that the name that he's saying is his Father's name necessarily. In the Hebrew understanding, your name was your character. And so if he comes in the character of his Father, and if you understand that the truth was with the Father in the beginning, and through all the things was created through the truth, you know what I mean? You can't create things with a lie. This is the operation of Satan, the enemy, the adversary, the devil, Lucifer, right? And so what we have to understand is that Jesus came to deliver the truth. And by this truth, you know what I'm saying, we could understand how not to get enslaved into all these systems and being, becoming a slave to sin and the corruption that is in the earth, right? Because my belief is that what Jesus said remains true to this very day. No one can prove any of this wrong. It remains the highest form of truth. Now, whereas everything else they say about him may have been added, at the end of the day, it's irrelevant to me, because the people that heard just what Jesus said in those days, they were saved, right? And so if I only understand what Jesus said, you know what I'm saying? Then I remain in the truth. If I compare other things to what was being spoken, I remain in the truth. You know what I'm saying? If you take this approach to the understanding of truth, you know what I mean? This, I think, is the highest form of truth. This is how you can break through all these different deceptions. I could have been ensnared by alchemy, masonry, hermeticism, the teachings of Thoth that they say came from Egypt, but they were really a work of, I'm saying, the period post Christ, the Hellenistic era of Greece. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
This is why it even contains a lot of things that sound Christian. And so then when people read things like the Emerald Tablets and stuff, and they read like the Divine Pymander, they start to realize like, oh, this kind of sounds like Christ before Christ. And because these texts were purported to be from Egypt, but the reality is they originate, you know what I'm saying, in I believe Alexandria, right? And the reality is they contain things that couldn't have been in the text if they came from the period of Egypt, which they were purported. And this is also why you can't find the physical tablets, the Emerald Tablets. They don't exist anywhere in the earth. And so they really just come from these guys that were essentially the first like psyops that were just putting out like whatever, you know what I mean? And they were drawing it from the understanding of Egyptian things, but they were also incorporating their own agenda that they were trying to push at this time period and trying to claim it was from a later source. And so they were just slapping Hermes Trismegistus on there because it was a respected name. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's and again, we're talking thousands of years ago. And just like a story when you were in kindergarten and you're given a sentence and you pass that sentence to the person to the right of you, you whisper it in the air. By the time it gets all the way back to the teacher, that sentence has changed, right? And I think has a lot to do with the information that's handed down. And again, there's sprinkles of truth that obviously you are trying to put together. But there's not a lot of people out there that take the time to do that. You know what I mean? There's not a
Don't get
lot of
it
people that
twisted
do that.
though. I'm not trying to put together like sprinkles. I'm just providing sprinkles because it's really impossible for me to unpack all of it. I'm trying to provide like a compressed form of it so that people have keywords that they could go back and later research, and that will expound the entire idea that I'm presenting. It's like a tapestry. It would take, you know what I mean, 10 years to basically explain everything I've read and present that. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to distill it into you know, a concentrated form, for the sake of time.
Right.
So Lance, if Drummerhead, there's a green room link. If you guys want to come on, there's a green room link. Go ahead and click on that link. If you have a Android or a
I just put it back up again, Lance.
yeah, you'll put it back up in, Lance, and you can come on in. We got about 10 more minutes. You hit that, and once you hit that, make sure you're using Chrome. You got to have the Chrome browser. Then you can click on that, and then we'll bring you right on. Make sure the camera on your phone is on. And
He got an iPhone. He should be good. There you go, Lance. Just click on that link and follow it. So, Sharif, what do you think about living a positive life in a negative world? How do you go about it?
Me personally, I think the world is a lot of negative in it, but it's up to your mindset. If you want to be negative, you can have the negative lifestyle, negative energy. But if you want to be positive, you can stay positive. So it's how you move and how you stay in your lane. That's how
yeah,
I feel.
so what you think? What you're saying is it's all about a mindset. Everything could be falling apart around you, but as long as you keep a positive mindset.
Around you, yeah.
Okay. Art says, that's it. Live positively because it's 215 times, baby. Oh man, he's never gonna let that go. At
Never
215.
gonna let that go. Never, ever, ever. I just try to do everything positive. When I go places, I try to speak to everybody. I help people, hold doors. I think positive when you're positive, it just goes off on everybody else. They can't help it. The people who don't want to be positive and negative, that's just what they want to do. So it's kind of like the mind state, but it's also if you go in a room and you got an attitude and somebody's positive, a lot of times you're gonna be like, oh hey, because how many times you said something nice to somebody and they say, thank you, I was having a bad day.
Yeah.
So
Again, depending on how you treat people, especially this time. I mean, you never know what that lady at the McDonald's is doing. She might have 3 other jobs, and she might be dead ass tired, and she don't want to
right.
get you your French fries, or maybe your order is too complex. But you got to walk. You have to walk in positive. You got to treat people the way that you want to be treated, and you'll see a change. So if you're positive to some people and they're negative to you, before you leave that situation, you can definitely make and see a change.
Yep. You're right.
I get positive because I'm in Michigan, man. I'm a Lions fan. Yeah, we got to be definitely positive about that.
You a Lions fan, aren't you? Aren't you a Lions fan?
That's my.
Yes, I am. Okay, we got Lance. We'll bring
See?
Lance in. We got another 7 minutes. Hey, Lance, how you doing?
I'm good. All I need is 7 minutes.
Okay.
What's going on, Lance?
What's up, D?
What's
I
up,
hear y'all
Lance?
discussion and on Jesus and this and that, you know what I mean? But we
Go
was
ahead,
never
Lance.
there.
What'd you say, Lance?
I say we was never there.
We were never there.
We were never there.
Facts.
We was never there.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that.
So who comes up with all these accusations? Jesus was this, Paul was that. We was never there. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. We're reading what people, other people have said, right?
With other people.
But what about them? Like what Paul said. Paul said
I'm
he
gonna
was never.
give y'all a example from what I went through and everything. You know, drumming. You know what I'm saying? I went to the penitentiary, and I wrote the Bible twice. So when I hear people talk about Jesus, this and that, and then they mix it with politics, it don't work. And we ain't even talking about politics.
Right.
So my point is, I stand with independency by myself. If y'all can understand that, but I love the conversation. I love the whatever y'all doing. I love it. That's why I'm trying to get on here, and I'm gonna be on here next week and the next week after that.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I think like you said, a lot of people read the Bible, and then you're right, we weren't there. nobody truly knows, but you can do some research and digging. But again, this is 2,000 years ago, man. 2,000 years ago.
Yes, it is.
I have
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey,
My name is Mimsy Limbs, and I just have a question. I have a question.
Sure.
Do you believe in an almighty creator? What was your name? What was his name? Lance.
Lance.
Yes.
Yes, you believe in an almighty creator?
Yes, I do, but I got to find out who the almighty creator is.
Well, yes, I agree with this.
Facts.
So like in my brain, right, I try to keep it as simple as possible. In my brain, yeah, because our brains don't work the same. So in my brain, the way that it makes sense to me is to try to keep it as simple as possible. And if the idea of Jesus is too confusing, because again, I wasn't there, but I do know that I was created by something. This is what I believe. This is what I know. Solid foundation. And my almighty creator, whoever that is, loved me enough to bring me here and give me everything that I have to choose to be happy, because happiness is a choice. Heaven can be a state of mind. It doesn't matter where you are. If it's all in here,
I feel like people confuse happiness though with positivity.
I don't mean to cut y'all off, but our parents, our forefathers was here before us. That's who taught us about the Bible and Jesus and Joseph and Adam. So we learned from that and went with that. And that's what we know.
That's exactly what I was saying. It's the rebinding. That's what religion means. The rebinding, generational control and slavery through the methodology of the religions. But I don't
know what's messed up? We can't go back to our parents, our forefathers, because some of them gone or dead or passed. We can't go back that far to find out the actual who taught.
See, Lance, when
them.
something is true, Lance, you could see it from all different perspectives, and it's the same thing. You see what I was saying? Lance sees it a different way, but he's echoing the exact same thing I just said.
Okay.
Religion. The word religion comes from rebinding, religion, the rebinding, and it's generational control through the religious mind control slavery system. When somebody has a God that they present to you, this is their understanding of the God, right? Now, if you have to believe everything that religion believes, or you're a hypocrite, right? If you're in the image of God and God's supposed to be making you in his image, then how could you accept somebody else's projection of that truth? You become that person's spiritual prisoner.
that makes a lot of sense, and I think
Yeah.
that's what's happening now when we talk about religion, like Lance is talking about. You know, when we talk about religion and the different religions, it's a systematic. And this is just my personal opinion, okay? People don't get all upset. It is positive. There's positive things that come out of it, but there's also negative things that come out of religion. One of them that Lance says or Rant has said is control. It's a form of control. If you get out of pocket in a Baptist church, for example, let's say you're a woman, you go in there sleeveless, right? There's a problem. There's a problem. If you go into, some of these older Baptist churches and I go in there with Dickies and a wife beater, it's a problem.
Why?
Right? Well, that's because of the system and the control that I think Rand is talking about.
Exactly,
And
man.
what Rand was talking about is he brought a message. Did we get that? Did we get that message? Right? Did all of us get that message?
Right.
And that message has been lost. I mean, I don't even know you, Lance, but I'm gonna tell you, I love you, brother. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for supporting. Rant, you too. Love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Right.
Thanks for
Thanks for
supporting.
coming on.
And I don't
Appreciate
think we have that. And I think that's his message, right? I think that's
Yes.
his message.
Yes.
Is to love one another, help one another, and build up one another.
Exactly.
That message has been lost to control. Make sure you're here on church on Sunday. Make sure you pay your tithes. Do this and this and this so you stay out of hell, right? If there is even a hell, right? If there is even a hell, do all of these things right now so when you die, you'll be okay.
You want to know what I think hell is? Honestly, I think I've come to understand what it's going to be. So essentially, I believe that the end game, because I could get to how we get to the end game, but I'll just give you the end game before I give you anything else, and then we get to that if you got time. But essentially, the end game for these people, all these different occult mystery religions, is they want to become God. And they believe they could achieve immortality and godhood without God. This is the 9/11 symbology that you see, the IXXI. This is the Kabbalistic understanding of the Sephiroth, where at the top you have number 10, God. They want to go from 9 to an 11 imaginary Sephiroth. They want to go from 9 to 11. They want to reach godhood without God, you see. And so the way they propose to do this is by essentially hooking up all of mankind in a transhuman cyborg system through nanotechnology and linking them all together like a hive mind into what would be like a God consciousness. And this is how they intend to rebel and make war with God.
Now I'm lost. You just said I'm totally lost.
I feel you, bro.
I'm totally lost.
Stay tuned.
It gets deep.
I ain't finna go there.
So I think he's getting into the development of AI and
I'm totally lost, man.
Lance said he totally lost.
Totally lost. He went on a whole other page.
Yeah,
the keywords were all there, right? So after the show, rewind that joint and Google everything that I dropped, right? And you'll start to expand that understanding of it. And I promise you, the next time we talk, you'll be like, yo, I want to know some more shit. I want to know some more about that thing.
Well, we're on every Thursday at 8 o'clock, man. So Lance and Rant, y'all check back in.
I'm going to be here every Thursday now, D. Every Thursday.
I'll be sending you the links.
I like this.
Long as you're also in the, you like the comments and everything. So now we can send you all the notifications.
All right.
So Rant, how are you? How did you come by our page?
Who you talk to?
I'm out here auditing the internet open panels for truth. You know what I'm saying? So far, you guys passed inspection.
Okay.
We appreciate that. That's exactly what we want. And that's what we set this platform up for. So we get people like Lance, people like yourself, people like you, me, Sharif, and Drummer, to have a discussion. The topics will change every week. I mean, speaking of the truth, we might talk about, Trump and how he likes to avoid that truth next episode. You never know
Yeah,
what we're
right,
going to talk about.
right.
So yeah, you guys stay tuned. Lance will make sure that we subscribe to your channel. Make sure you subscribe to ours, and we really appreciate you guys. We're about out of time, so Sharif, do your thing again. Thank you, Rent. Thank you, Lance. We really appreciate you guys.
Hey, Sharif, you don't remember me though, but how you doing, Sharif?
Okay, take us out, Sharif.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for having us. You have a good night.
All right, you too.
You too.
Go ahead, Sharif. Take us out.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for watching episode 123. I'll see you next week at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Peace.
Peace.
We're in a lot of trouble because less than 3% of you people read books. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. You're beginning to believe the illusion